Austin Reeves led the Lakers with 28 points. LeBron had 20 points and 8 assists. The Lakers are back under 500 for the 14th time this season. They're at Boston Thursday night. The Clippers are back in action tonight. They're at Washington. Game 4 of their 7-game road trip, 4 p.m. tip-off. Former Lakers guard Rajon Rondo is in trouble. Rondo was arrested after he was pulled over on a highway in southern Indiana. Rondo was charged with illegal possession of a gun and drugs possession. Rondo helped the Lakers win the NBA championship in 2021. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. 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 If we care enough.
1, 2, 3, go! I'm gonna try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth, but I'll be alright as long as I can find the groove. Yes, I will. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. Yes, I will. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back in style again.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, a conversation with Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell about her new book, Still Rising. In the book, she rediscovers the voices that shaped her own identity and amplifies their echoes to inspire a new generation to rise to the occasion. Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell has crafted a vibrant anthology of resistance and resilience where iconic words from the past ignite the fires of justice for the future, and I look forward to that dialogue with Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell in hour 2 today. In our third hour.
Would you please stop? Sir, I'm asking you to stop.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking a picture and calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
Excuse me? I'm sorry, I'm in the ramble, and there is a man, African American, he has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African American man, I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately. I'm in Central Park in the ramble. I don't know.
Thank you.
Every time I hear that clip or see it, it makes my skin crawl. The ways in which these Karens just go into overdrive for no good reason. Christian Cooper, the lifelong birder who turned a racist incident in New York Central Park into an opportunity to spread the word about black birding across the world as host of the National Geographic program Extraordinary Birder, and his new book, Better Living Through Birding, Notes from a Black Man in the Natural World, joins us today in Hour 3. I look forward to that conversation for the hour with Christian Cooper. And as I said a moment ago, he has taken that incident and turned it into gold with this amazing Nat Geo show. I'll play some sound from his Nat Geo show if you've not seen it. It's called, once again, Extraordinary Birder. And, of course, he has a new book out, again, called Better Living Through Birding, Notes from a Black Man in the Natural World. Christian Cooper is our guest today in Hour 3. But in this first hour, 2 more conversations. On the B side of this hour, we'll talk to Duke University History and Public Policy Professor Nancy McLean, who says the right-wing subversion of our democracy is actually closer than we think. She has an ominous warning about the far right's plan for a new Confederacy. You have to hear that on the backside of this first hour. All that said, when we come forward, we will commence today's program in dialogue with the White House Press Secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre. As you know, she's the first African-American woman to ever be press secretary in the White House for President Joseph R. Biden. And I look forward to Karine joining us in a matter of moments to commence a conversation about her work and her witness and how she does this day in and day out. Here now, some sound from Karine at the podium. And when we come forward, we'll commence our conversation with the White House Press Secretary, if I can say it, Karine Jean-Pierre.
Well,
Shut down the border means shut down the border?
I'll say this. The first day of his administration, the president took this issue very seriously. He put forth a comprehensive piece of legislation to deal with what's happening with the immigration. You don't get to decide, but you don't get to decide what I say and what I don't say. Either you hear me out, or we can, I'll see you on Wednesday. Totally up to you. Totally up to you.
I just want to know if he means
All
what
right.
he says.
Okay. He means what he says. Not going to go into details here. Here's the reality. The immigration system is broken. It's been broken for decades, even in the last administration. The president introduced this piece of legislation 3 years ago. House Republicans got in the way. They refused to do anything about it. Now he's in this position to have a potentially bipartisan agreement that the Senate has been working on with Republicans and Democrats on a real solution to move forward. 75% of the American people, majority of the American people, want us to work on this issue. And they've been very clear. The 2022 midterm elections, what did they say? They want to see Congress doing things in a bipartisan way to really address the issues that matter to them. Here's this president actually working with Republicans and Democrats to deal with this issue. That's important. And I think that's what the American people care about. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Thank you so much.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
City of Los Angeles landlords that own rent-controlled properties, starting February 1st, you'll be able to increase rents by 4% for your rent-controlled properties. An extra 1% per utility, up to 6%, can be added only if you pay the entire gas and electric bill. And don't forget to give your tenant an advance 30-day written notice for rent increases of less than 10%. It is state law. Learn more about the rent increase at housing.lacity.org. That's housing.lacity.org.
You like your style, though? At KBLA Talk 1580, we are unapologetic about amplifying the voices of those who have historically been left out of the conversation. As we approach our 3rd anniversary this summer, the problem with talk radio in Southern California specifically, and America more broadly, is virtually unchanged. All day, all night, all white. We make no apologies for our prime audience, but true to the best of our tradition, we're committed to expanding justice and freedom for all. So when we receive messages from listeners like Neil, we just smile.
I realize that I'm not your target demographic, but I love listening to your station as it is the only progressive station on the dial.
That's us. Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Taco Bell just dropped the new Cravings Value Menu. Now you can get 10 items for $3 or less, which means you can get the food you want for the price you want. It's almost like you can have your cake and eat it too. But in this case, it's a double-stacked taco from the new Cravings Value Menu. So basically, you can have your double-stacked taco and eat it too, which is a lot crunchier than cake. The new Cravings Value Menu is here. Get it at Taco Bell today. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations while supplies last. Contact store for price and participation which vary. Tax extra.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
And I'm glad about it. Just getting started here in our first hour. I look forward to a pretty amazing show today. In case you've just tuned in, we'll talk to Nancy McLean on the backside of this hour about what she sees as an ominous warning that we need to be made aware of regarding right-wing subversion of our democracy and their plan for a new confederacy, as they call it. We'll talk to Nancy McLean at the bottom of this hour. As I mentioned in our second hour, Dr. Janet Dewitt-Bell on her new book, Still Rising, which I think will inspire a new generation of young advocates and activists. And, of course, in our third hour, the lifelong birder turned this racist incident in New York Central Park to a major career opportunity. Christian Cooper joins us today, once again, in our third hour. Waiting now for Karine Jean-Pierre, the first African-American to be White House press secretary. I cannot say that word today. To dial in. We'll commence that conversation here momentarily. Gives me a quick chance to tell you some backstory about KJP, if I can. Too many, you got, KJP in the White House and KBJ in the Supreme Court. She, of course, was Principal Deputy White House Press Secretary. At one point served as Kamala Harris's Chief of Staff as Vice President. Of course, she worked on the Biden presidential campaign, and at one point was the Chief Spokesperson an advisor for MoveOn.org, and so she has done a lot of work heretofore to land her at the podium at the White House. She didn't just land there overnight. A lot of backstory to Karine Jean-Pierre, and wanted to share a bit of that with you. Born in Martinique after her parents fled Haiti, just 5 years old when she came to this country, to New York specifically, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I look forward to talking to her as soon as we can get her on the line from the White House. This gives me an opportunity to share with our national audience something we're doing here in L.A. that I could use your help on. If you go to the website of my home station, KBLA 1580, well, now she's on the phone. I'll hold that. We're doing some serious climate justice work around here, and I want to share what we're doing with the national audience and get them to help us out with a survey that we're taking of black people, specifically about climate justice in this critical campaign season. I'll tell you more about that a little later in the program now that KJP joins us on the line. Karine, good to have you on the program. How are you today?
I'm doing great, sir. Happy New Year is the last day that I can say that, I think. But it's so good to be.
No, it is.
So good to be on the phone with you. Tavis.
No, it's good. It's good to hear your voice. Happy New Year to you as well, and thank you for the time. We got about 15 minutes. I want to make the most of it. I know you are busy, busy. So thank you. First of all, we played a clip. We played a clip a moment ago. Corinne, before you came on, of you basically checking, I would say chin checking, one of those White House correspondents, and you said, "Hey, you don't get to decide what I say and how I say it and when I say it. You ain't running nothing around here." So what is it like being a black woman at that podium trying to herd cats every day?
So let me just say, I always have to say this because I have to always honor the heaviness of this role, right? The gravitas of the role. I am incredibly honored and privileged to be the White House press secretary, to be the person who is the voice, the spokesperson for the President of the United States. And it is completely an honor. And every time I step behind that lectern on the podium, I think about that. I think about how this is a president who decided, this president and Dr. Biden decided that they wanted the spokesperson for him, the White House press secretary, to be someone who looks like me. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so as it relates to the White House press corps, I have a very good relationship with them. It is a welcome back and forth. I know you've watched the briefings, Tavis, and and that's part of the job. It is part of the job to have a healthy back and forth. And I always will stand my ground and always will be very clear about what I'm trying to deliver and why this platform is so important and what the president is trying to say, because it goes beyond the room, right? It goes beyond the people in the room. We are thankful to have reporters. Freedom of the press is so important, and they are reporting what we are doing to the American people, right? And even having the camera on me, I am talking to folks beyond the room as well. And so I try to remember that at all times, always.
I don't want to make an issue where there is none. If there is none, you can tell me there is none. But I have watched these press conferences many times in my life and been in that room a number of times in my life. And obviously and before you took the podium, before you became the first African American and made history as the president's spokesperson, you watched a bunch of these press conferences as well. Do you ever sense when you see the playback, if you have time to see them, does it ever feel to you that you're being put upon differently? I'll use that word, differently than other press secretaries, and you know where I'm going, obviously.
No, I hear what you're saying, Tavis. Look, I actually don't really watch the replay of any engagement or tense back and forth that I have with reporters. I kind of move on, to be quite honest, Tavis.
Sure.
It's like, because we have these press dailies, these press briefings almost every day. So for me, it's like it happens. I move on. I had to, when you mentioned the clip that you shared with your audience just moments ago before I jumped on, I had to remember what happened on that day. Honestly, because I move on.
It was funny though. It was funny. You checked him. Yeah.
And there's so much going on in this country, in the world, that I can't sit around thinking about a back and forth with a reporter. I really can't. So I think I think others will judge, and I'll leave it to others, people much smarter than me, historians or whoever is going to look at this moment. Other journalists and they, or professors, whoever that might be, or students will look at my tenure as White House press secretary, and they will make their own judgments. Right now, for me, my focus is this president and what we're trying to communicate to your audience, for example.
I want to discuss some issues in a moment here, but let me just say this. I was moved, deeply moved and deeply touched. I have been at this for quite a while now, as you know. And done a number of African American First on NPR and PBS and BET and other places I've been in my career. So I know what it's like. Sort of, somebody once said, he or she who breaks through the brush first gets the thorns. So I kind of know what that feels like. But I was really deeply moved, and I was so glad that you were the person to be there and you were the person to do it. Tell the audience, for those who didn't hear the story, about the renaming or the naming of that lectern.
I'm so glad you asked that question. So recently, we were able to rename the lectern Dunnigan Payne. That's the name of the lectern. So the last time we were able. Last time there was a new lectern in the press briefing room was back in 2007. So that was a long time ago. So I am honored under my tenure here that I was able, we were able to, and it's not me. I didn't put obviously the lectern together. There are folks from the Army and the Navy and other really brilliant folks who created and were very meticulous, very thoughtful about what this new lectern looked like. Obviously, they took feedback from me, and then when it was ready, we had the opportunity to name it, and I decided to name it after the two first Black women journalists in the briefing room.
Yes.
And wow, what a huge honor. And if you think about it, these two amazing women were, because of their grit and their hard work and determination, were able to do something that no other person who looked like them were able to do. And, we've been talking about the briefing room and these press dailies. I mean, the press briefing represents so much, right? It represents freedom of the press. It represents democracy. It is televised, not just in the U.S., but globally. People watch what we are doing, what we are saying, and we believe naming that podium Dunnigan Payne, it really they personify what this nation is all about and definitely should be all about. Yeah. And so it was an honor to do that. And let me just add, because I do have to give credit to the White House Correspondents Association, they actually helped give us the idea, because just in the last White House Correspondents' Dinner, they created an award for them. And so it kind of gave us the idea to pass that on to the lectern. So after my tenure, it will always be the Dunnigan Payne lectern, And so it was a beautiful moment. I am glad and honored that I was able to do it as a first myself, to be able to lift them up. And I hope it makes their family proud.
No, it was a moment. It was a moment. I was just, again, so delighted that you were there in that moment and were involved at the epicenter of this major renaming. So I just wanted to raise that for those who hadn't heard that story.
Thank you, Tavis.
No.
Thank you.
You mentioned it's your last day to say Happy New Year. It is, because tomorrow's the first day of February, Black History Month. So there's no more propitious time to raise that story than right about now. So I'm glad you told it and retold it so beautifully. I got about 5 minutes left with you, 7 minutes actually. Let me cover some issues right quick. It seems to me, writ large, that whatever one thinks of this president, he is not getting the respect for what he has accomplished, certainly against all the odds. And I've got issues. I don't think Joe Biden's right about everything, and nor would you expect me to think that, because you know me. I've got my own issues here and there. But I do believe he's done a masterful job in many respects of shepherding and stewarding this country against some pretty steep headwinds. And whatever one thinks of him, it's clear to me that he's not getting the credit he deserves for what he has been able to do. Why is that, you think?
I agree, and that's why I'm talking to you, Tavis, and I appreciate you saying that. Look, there are probably multiple reasons why. It is incredibly partisan politics right now. It is very hard to break through at this moment, but I'm here talking to you because we believe talking to you, you have an audience that can hear us and make their own decisions, right? And you're right. This president made a promise. He made a promise, along with the vice president, to the Black community that he would do everything in his power when he was president to deliver for the American people, yes, but also for Black Americans. So he made a promise. And we believe he has kept his promise. Now, is there always more work to be done? Absolutely.
Sure.
And one of the, I think, important places to look at that is the economy, right? When the president walked into this office, Black unemployment was at 9.2%. Black unemployment rate is now at 5.2%. That is as of October of last year. So we have been able to create new economic opportunities for Black Americans, African Americans, and making long overdue investments in Black communities. We know we are a community does not get investments over the past few decades. We have not seen that. And so since the pandemic, for example, real wages are up for Black Americans. 14 million jobs created and inflation coming down. 2/3 of new clean energy jobs, for example, are in communities of color, including nearly 60,000 in Black communities. Inflation coming down. We've seen eggs and milk and prices go down since 2022. Gas prices are down. But there's even more than that, right? As we look at Again, zeroing on black families and lifting them out of poverty. If you think about the Black Network, is up 60% since the pandemic, Tavis. Protected Black Americans' access of housing. We hear stories about how discriminatory housing practices can be. And so now home ownership, including efforts to combat housing discrimination, we've been able to protect that. And we've done that through HUD, which is led by, as you know, Secretary Fudge. And we've cut Black child poverty in half in 2021. Families receive $300 per kid each month, and this is we're trying to obviously continue that, but that we saw from the American Rescue Plan that the president put forth. If you think about small businesses, Black Americans are starting small businesses in record numbers under this administration, fastest growing rate of new Black-owned small businesses in over 30 years. And I haven't even talked about health care, right? We passed this really historic piece of legislation that the president signed, Inflation Reduction Act. It capped insulin at $35 per month for our seniors. Think about the seniors in our communities. It's capped that. They were paying hundreds of dollars a month for insulin. We've capped that. You know, you think about HBCUs. He invested more than $7 billion in HBCUs. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. But when he puts forth a plan, especially an economic policy plan, for example, his thing is we build an economy from the bottom up, middle out, and that means not leaving anybody behind. We put equity at the center of everything that we've done.
I got 2 minutes left with you. Next time we'll get you on a little bit more time. I know you're crazy busy. And you're crazy busy, and I thank you for these 15 minutes. With all that you've just said, how do you juxtapose all that he's done in that regard and the stories we keep reading that his numbers in Black America are soft?
You know, and we want to change that, right? We want to change that around because we have to continue to communicate and lay out what I just laid out, and that's just what I just told you, Tavis. Is just like a third. Yeah. It's just a little bit of what we've been able to do. I have not touched on the environment. When we jumped on, you talked about environmental justice. Yeah. EPA, we have done work to make sure that we put forth policies that we do not see environmental justice in communities. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And you know, when it comes to police reform, what this president has done, pushing an executive order to deal with it on a federal level when Congress couldn't act, they couldn't act. You know, and so we banned chokeholds, resist no-knock warrants, and much more on the federal level. That's something that this president has done. Look, we just have to continue to talk about it. We got to continue to tout it. We got to be very clear. We need to get our surrogates out there. We are appreciative to have this opportunity to talk to you. But no, we want to make sure people know that this president has kept his promise that he made when he walked into this administration. And I'm going to be very clear. There's always more work to be done, obviously, but we have done a lot of that work. The president has done a lot of that work.
I appreciate our time. I want to say right quick in 30 seconds I have left here. I'm watching the president. I'm watching how you all are trying out different lines. When you see the president later today, and by the way, he's been in this studio a couple of times. I've got photos in my building of Joe Biden as a senator. I've known him so long. I knew him as a senator. He has been in this studio talking to me a number of times. But tell him when you see him later today that I like this line, promises made, promises kept. That thing works. I like that. Promises made, and the audience responds, promises kept. I love that back and forth, that call and response. Promises made, promises kept. Great line. I like that. Thank you for coming on, and I appreciate it. We'll do it somewhere down the road, but I appreciate your time. And just know that there are millions of us, many of us, every day we see you, we beam with pride that you were behind that podium as the first African-American, a sister. A lot of us love you and support you, and thank you for what you're doing. So have a great rest of the day, Corinne.
Oh, I feel the support, and I love you all, too. Thank you so much. Thank you to this community that has supported me for all of my career. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk next time. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Seeking the truth. Speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Media mogul Byron Allen is making a $30 billion offer for Paramount Global. The African-American former TV host made a bid Tuesday that would include the company's $15 billion debt load and the value of the shares issued by Paramount. A statement from the Allen Media Group says the offer is the best solution for all of the Paramount Global shareholders, and the bid should be taken seriously and pursued. Philips is halting the sale of sleep apnea devices in the United States because of potential cancer risks. The medical device maker said Monday the move is part of a deal with federal regulators. The company recalled millions of machines in 2021 over concerns that foam in the product could cause health issues. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another poor defensive effort by the Lakers led to another loss Tuesday night. The Lakers gave up 138 points to Atlanta. They lost by 16. Over the past two games, the Lakers have given up a combined 273 points. The Lakers did not have Anthony Davis. He sat out with a sore left hip and a sore Achilles tendon. Austin Reeves led the Lakers with 28 points. LeBron had 20 points and 8 assists. The Lakers are back under 500 for the 14th time this season. They're at Boston Thursday night. The Clippers are back in action tonight. They're at Washington. Game 4 of their 7-game road trip, 4 p.m. tip-off. Former Lakers guard Rajon Rondo is in trouble. Rondo was arrested after he was pulled over on a highway in southern Indiana. Rondo was charged with illegal possession of a gun and drugs possession. Rondo helped the Lakers win the NBA championship in 2021. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like your style, though.
Around here, we don't believe in victimhood. We believe in raising our voices, amplifying black voices in the climate conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
We thank once again Corinne Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, for checking with us for that conversation. Enjoyed that immensely. Hope you did as well. We'll get her back here, I'm sure, a few more times between now and Election Day, along with her boss between now and Election Day. We're working on that. But in the interim, we are pleased to be joined in conversation now by Duke University history and public policy professor Nancy McLean, who says the right-wing subversion of our democracy is closer than we actually think. She has an ominous warning about the far right's plan for a new Confederacy, and I'm pleased to have her on this program. Professor McLean, how are you today?
I'm doing well. It is great to be with you, Tavis, and what an honor to be on after Corinne Jean-Pierre. She is just brilliant as a press secretary. Woo.
No, I think she is. I was. It's funny. Before she came on, Professor, we played a clip of her having to.
I heard it. I wanted to hear the whole thing. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. She knows how to deal with those guys.
No, she knows how. She knows how to handle them. Speaking of how to handle them, how to deal with them, how do we handle the right wing these days in this country?
Whew, all hands on deck.
Yeah.
This is going to be the most consequential election of our lifetimes. I know we keep saying that, but it keeps getting worse and worse because we have the most determined, frightening, long game planning right wing we have experienced, honestly, since the Confederacy. So what we have is billionaire plutocrats, particularly from the fossil fuel industry, like Charles Koch. So I was thrilled to hear that your station is really emphasizing climate justice and its impact on communities of color. So we have them, and they have paired up and teamed up in an unholy alliance with the white evangelical entrepreneurial folks who are pulling so many, supposedly Christian churches into arms of the Republican Party and trying to impose a theology that, frankly, has nothing to do with Jesus, as near as I can tell, on the rest of us. So we are really in a serious situation now, and particularly going into this election. So again, all hands on deck. And I think one thing that's so important is to focus on the states. After President Obama was elected, and this combined billionaire fossil fuel movement came together with the religious right and took advantage of the reaction to our first black president, we lost so much power at the state level, and they very strategically used that to gerrymander in so many places like my own North Carolina. So what we need to do, I think, is really focus strenuously on reclaiming those states. And there's many good people doing that in state after state, including, again, North Carolina and Georgia, as you know, much of the South. But it's really important work because, as you pointed to with the article, the right is actually pushing for a constitutional convention, which if they get control of the Congress, they will absolutely call after November 2024, because Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, is a total supporter of this, has been for years, and he's a product of this, billionaire theocrat network.
I'm glad you went there. So just take a few minutes. The microphone is yours. Explain what they are attempting to do and how it would work.
Yeah. So I got onto this from I picked up a story during massive resistance to Brown versus Board of Education, and that led me to all of this in my book Democracy in Chains. But basically, what they have realized on the right is that they are a permanent minority. Nobody wants the kind of agenda that corporate libertarians would impose, and now with their new partners, the white evangelical right. So what they've realized is that they have to rig the rules, and we've seen them do that with voter suppression, with gerrymandering, with the destruction of public sector unions, with attacks on DEI and honest teaching, et cetera. But they are not satisfied with that. What they actually want to do is change the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. And that's a steep thing. There's two ways to change the Constitution. One is the way we all know that we've gotten 27 amendments from, most of them good, save prohibition. But so that there's that one way, but there's a way we've never experienced before because it's never happened. It's in the Constitution as an option, but it's never happened, and that is a constitutional convention called by the states. It has to be called by 2/3 of the states, so that would be 34 states today. Now, they now have 28 states, clearly, that they have authorizations from. What they've done is they've realized they're never going to get to 34 states, honestly. And so I've written about that in that article. There's another one coming out in the New Republic in March. But they know on the right, and this is groups like the American Legislative Exchange Council, the Convention of States, if people want to look that up, these are the people pushing for it. But it's the entire, billionaire theocratic right. So they are pushing for this constitutional convention. And what they're doing now is saying that they have enough authorizations. They're starting to claim authorizations for constitutional conventions that go way, way back in history if they didn't specify the purpose. And now they're saying they have more than 34, and they're actually going to the courts to demand that Congress call a constitutional convention. So this is crazy. It is scary, and it makes the stakes of the election that Karine Jean-Pierre and you were just talking about all the higher. And most people don't even know about this part, but it's like if they manage to, if the Republicans manage to get, the White House and control of Congress, this is what we will be seeing, an effort to lock in the old rules permanently, then protect fossil fuels, which we could add to, and white supremacy and, the white evangelical distorted notion of Christianity.
And if they can, first of all, two quick questions here. How likely is it when you look at the map of the states they're talking about? How likely is it that they could actually pull this off?
They shouldn't be able to pull it off. It should be really hard and a heavy lift if it was going to be done honestly to get to 34. But if they get, look what's happening in Congress now. These people are trying to impeach President Biden. They're trying to impeach the, Secretary of Homeland Security. This is a Republican Party that is not the one our parents and grandparents knew about, right? This one has gone off the rails. It is against the factual universe. It is against constitutional democracy. It is very racist and just plain crazy in many cases. So they will push for this, and they will get it, I believe, if they are able to win in 2024. So that raises the stakes significantly. I can say, too, for your listeners who are probably hearing about this for the first time, and please don't panic, take a deep breath, but go to the website of Common Cause, Google Article 5 Constitutional Convention, and you will see a map of where they have gotten the 28 authorizations. And what you will see on that map is it's concentrated in the states of the former Confederacy, plus assorted other places. But the heart of this is the old Confederacy, and what they're trying to do is enshrine the kind of states' rights that prevailed before the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, before the Civil Rights Acts of the 60s. This is really serious business. It's basically, we are in a fight over is this country going to be a democracy, or is this going to be something really ugly and scary? I
want to connect one dot, or a couple dots for our audience here. And when we come forward, I want to give Nancy McClain, Professor McClain, an opportunity to tell us if they can pull off by hook or by crook these 34 states and call for this constitutional convention. What exactly is it that they want to change about the Constitution? What do they want to change? Here's the dot I want to connect for you. If you recall, if you're a regular listener, I hope you are. I hope you are listening every day. We had a conversation a week or two ago on this program about Charlie Kirk, right-wing conservative, who is attacking Dr. King, literally attacking Dr. King every day, has a podcast series attacking Dr. King, attacking affirmative action, attacking DE&I. But more to the point, he's been arguing that we should never have passed the Civil Rights Act, that it should never have been passed in the first place. Shouldn't have passed the Civil Rights Act, shouldn't have passed the Voting Rights Act. He's advancing that argument every day with a major podcast series listened to by millions of conservatives, but they're suggesting that we should never even pass these pieces of seminal legislation. So connect that conversation to what Professor McClain is telling you now about what they're trying to do with these 34 states and calling for this constitutional convention when we come forward, if they can pull this off. First of all, God help us all. But if they can pull this off, what is it about the Constitution that they want to change? That is the question. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on! What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Stay Housed LA has the resources you need to know your rights and the legal support to back them up. The COVID-19 pandemic has cost people their jobs and livelihoods. This has left an estimated 1/3 of households not being able to make rent and facing losing their homes. This is a fear no one in our community should have to face. You have rights, though, and Stay Housed LA is here to help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between the County of Los Angeles, the City of Los Angeles, and local community and legal service providers. Together, they provide tenants with the information and support needed to exercise their rights so they can remain safely in their homes. Find out more about your rights by participating in a virtual tenant workshop. Get the legal assistance you need. Find additional resources in Los Angeles County and the City of Los Angeles. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA County for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. Stay connected to Stay Housed LA for updates. This and more at stayhousedla.org. That's stayhousedla.org. Or call their hotline at 213-694-0040. We've got your black with a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580. Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews. Follow the leader. Stimulating conversation and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs. Follow the leader. Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Sounds different. Huh. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Professor Nancy McClain, author of the book Democracy in Chains, The Deep History of the Radical Right's Stealth Plan for America. Her most recent article, for which I wanted to have this conversation, I'm delighted she found time for us in her very busy schedule. The article is called Constitution in the Crosshairs, the Far Right's Plan for a New Confederacy. The right-wing subversion of U.S. democracy is closer than you think, and she's bringing that home for us in this conversation. So, Professor McClain, let's assume, help Lord, let's assume that they are successful by hook or crook, however they do it, cheating, to get to this number of 34 states. And so they call this Constitutional Convention, and their end name is to do what in this convention?
Yeah. So good. Well, you just before the break, you talked about Charlie Kirk attacking Dr.
Yes.
King, DEI, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act. This is all connected. We are talking about hardcore libertarians who believe there are only three legitimate parts, essentially, of the government. Armies, the federal government, armies, courts, and police, right? Those are the functions they believe in. They do not think that we should have public education. They do not think that we should have Social Security and Medicare or protection of labor rights. They do not think we should have civil rights or women's rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is like, it's such, it amazes me because it's such a crazy ideology. But the thing is, it perfectly suits the interests of dirty industries like fossil fuels. Charles Koch is like the 16th richest man on the planet, and he is messianic about, driving this agenda, funds hundreds of organizations pushing this agenda. So you ask, what would they do at a constitutional convention? Actually, they've already had 3 mock constitutional conventions in Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia, to plan for this. So we know what kind of amendments they would go for. And what they would do, they would absolutely go for a 1-2 punch, which would be requiring the federal government to have annually balanced budgets, which would threaten all ongoing programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, et cetera. And then they would have joined to that something that would make it almost impossible to tax the people who aren't paying what they should be paying now, right? So they would make it all but impossible to raise federal taxes. So that's the kind of you could see it as a vice, kind of closing on all the social programs that have answered, social movement mobilizations in this country, from labor to women, farmers, civil rights, et cetera, environmental. Then they would also give to the states all federal lands that were, taken out of commission for national parks and things like that from 1976 forward. So that is a total gift to the fossil fuel and mining industries. And then here's the kicker. They would essentially make it so that groups of states can stop the federal government, stop the president, stop Supreme Court decisions by mobilizing the states in exactly the way that the slaveholder John C. Calhoun, the militant Southern slaveholder who had been vice president in the 1820s, the way he called for using the power of the states against the federal government to stop, in his day, democracy from ending slavery, because he knew that was coming. And so that is what they are doing. They are trying to, they will say that they're originalists, right, that they're going back to the Constitution. That is not it. They are going back to like the Confederacy and even to the Articles of Confederation that the Constitution was supposed to, have improved on the flaws of. But they are so dedicated to property rights and states' rights because those can protect all the hierarchies they are defending.
When we come forward in our remaining moments, my obvious question is, what can be done to stop this? And I ask this, and I'm not being tongue-in-cheek at all. It so troubles me that the left, that Democrats, even sometimes progressives, just don't move swiftly enough, creative enough, not enough ingenuity to stop this stuff when we see it coming at us. We know they've been focusing on local school boards, for example, for years now, getting all their people on these school boards to ban books, et cetera, et cetera. We see it coming in real time, and yet the Democrats have no answer. How do we stop this from happening before it does? That's the question for Nancy McClain when we come forward.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Watch out! Pew, pew, pew. Daddy! The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
We all agree that America has a very serious problem.
Okay, KBLA delegation, we need your help as we launch our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. We would deeply appreciate you going to our KBLA 1580 website and filling out a short climate justice survey, which will help us better serve our beloved community as we build out this campaign. It'll take you just a few short minutes to complete the online survey, and the information you provide us will be invaluable as we do our part to hold folk accountable and amplify the voices of our people in this climate conversation. When you take the survey, you'll be automatically entered to win seats at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. So, hit our website at KBLA 1580. Help us out by taking the short Climate Justice Campaign survey, and you could be our guest at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. Thank you in advance for your consideration and cooperation. At KBLA Talk 1580, we care about the community, we care about the climate. We care about the climate.
I started vaping my freshman year of high school, mostly because all my friends had vapes. I wanted to fit in with them and look cool and be a part of everything that they were doing. The hardest part about quitting for me was all my friends still hitting their vapes right next to me. It was really frustrating and confusing when I was trying to quit because in my head I knew I didn't want to do it anymore, but for some reason my brain still wanted it.
No quit story is the same. For free support, text Kick Nicotine to 66819 today.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Professor McClain, I've got 2.5 minutes left. I have to have you back because there's so much more here that I want to dig into. But you've set the frame for us properly, and so I know where to go next time you're on this program. In the 2 minutes I have left, is there any way? What ought we be doing now to stop this before it happens?
Yes, thank you. The most important thing, I think, is kind of a massive program of popular education to alert people to what's going on, in our unions, in our community groups, in our churches, in our schools. So that's important. The other thing is organizing at the grassroots. And people, I know I've delivered a hard, scary message, but I want to say around the country, people are waking up. People are starting to act on this. And look in Georgia. We can see in Georgia now has an amazing African-American senator, Jewish senator. Who would have expected that from Georgia, right? So this can be done. And also, you were mentioning before the breaks, the attacks on schools. I'm a historian on the honest teaching of history and about slavery and racism in this country. But look at that Moms for Liberty. I mean, that was a total creation of what I was talking about this billionaire network working with the religious right, et cetera. Well, they definitely, came on strong initially, but after our side mobilized, they lost 70% of the elections in which they ran school board candidates, right? So I think people, slow. It's hard to turn the ship around, right? Sure. Especially when people have so much going on in their lives, and this is, there's so many challenges that we face. But it is happening, and there are ways for people to plug in, wherever they are, wherever you're listening. There are people doing this work and responding to this, and there are ways that you can get involved. So, people could even just write me at my Duke address because there is actually a democracy map where you can click on your state and see what work is going on where you are. So, don't lose hope. When we organize, we win.
That's right.
As Heather Booth says, who's going to be the new progressive outreach director for President Biden. And it's true. When we organize, we win. But when we are fearful and we stay on the couch and we think it's hopeless, we could lose everything.
Nope.
So get active. That's what. Get informed and get active. That's what I'd say.
We said all the time around here, when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. The struggle is real, but so is the fight back. Her book is called Democracy in Chains, The Deep History of the Radical Right's Stealth Plan for America. The article that I wanted her on to talk about today is called Constitution in the Crosshairs, the Far Right's Plan for a New Confederacy. Professor McClain, thank you for your work and your witness. I love your passion. We'll have you back soon. Thank you for your time.
All right. Great talking with you, Tavis.
All
Bye.
the best to you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Media mogul Byron Allen is making a $30 billion offer for Paramount Global. The African-American former TV host made a bid Tuesday